Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of the Summit. Thank you once again for joining us. And tonight we focus on AI and how it is reshaping the future of work across the African continent. Now, from fintech and digital innovation to healthcare and intelligence systems. As AI continues to transform industries, a key question emerges. Is Africa's workforce ready to adapt, reskill, and remain competitive in an AI-driven economy? Now, joining me in this conversation is, I will start from my far left, is Mr. Benjamin Karenzi, CEO of IT Consortium Rwanda, a fintech and AI-driven technology company. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we also have with us Odas Nyonguru, CEO of Digital Umuganda. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and last but not least, we have Mahamat Maina, digital health and AI leader and a founding pillar of the Rwanda Health Informatics Association. Thank you for being here.
Thank you also.
Yes, so these gentlemen are going to help me dive into the conversation and understand truly if the African continent is ready for AI and the use of it in the workforce. So together we're going to be able to explore how AI is transforming the workforce and what it will take for Africa to stay future ready. So once again, thank you for joining me here. I will start off with you, Mr. Karenzi. Now you have worked across fintech, robotics, and AI platforms. This is something that is not so foreign to you. What initially sparked your interest in artificial intelligence as well as the emerging technologies?
Thank you. At a personal level, is the drive to identify and find solutions to some of the problems. Some of the problems that I would say that are regular, but some of which would also be complex. So that drive really is what made me want to venture into technology, especially with robotics and financial technologies. And secondly, is also the fear that Africa could be left behind, and also I would say also the whole need to leapfrog, given that what we are talking about, like AI and robotics, is new technology, and it's new technology across all continents. So there is no need for there would be no need for Africa or Rwanda to be left behind when we are all encountering these new and emerging technologies at the same time.
Yeah. Yes, if you could tell us a bit more about IT Consortium. You dabble in it as a fintech. It's also AI-driven. So tell us a bit more about that and the background of it all.
Yes, so IT Consortium, we are a financial technology company, and we build systems that address, and I would like to mention that some of the systems we are building are systems that we are building around what has been there within the context of Africa communities and culture and way of doing things. I'll give an example of a system we built called Chango, which is a collective investment scheme that I could equate to Ibimina or Amatsinda in Rwanda, and which that concept of collective investment schemes or collective saving schemes, you find they have different names in different parts of African countries, but the concept is the same. The process flow is the same, and we wanted to digitize that process flow, create good structures for governance through that digital system, but at the same time, as we collect this data, we are also be able to be predictive. We predict what the members of these schemes want and their behaviors, and that way we are not only addressing the issue of governance in collective savings and investment schemes, but we are also now being able to tailor solutions using the AI. For Chango, we are integrating AI chat agents so that even at an individual level or at a group level, people are able to see the behavior of their leaders. And with the integration, we are almost done working with the credit union, the CRB. That way, if you know, there are many collective savings or investment schemes that have gone wrong. There are some that are very successful. You could hear the examples of Mugachiriro, and other schemes that we know that have performed well, but there are some that went wrong because of the community or the people coming together were not able to know who are going to be their leaders, and also to control, because they could put funds into one or two individual accounts that is shared by one, two of their leaders, and if the two leaders decide to disappear with the funds, they could go away. But with Chango, it means we'll be able, before you even become a member who want to borrow, we'll be able to see what is your individual behavior in terms of finances, but we'll also be able to tap into your credit reference history and inform that particular group that is going to lend you the funds. So that way we are using this application to really solve a real-life challenge. And we build on similar applications that are also for individuals to tap into a dual pension, to also get into a personal finances, and also we create things to do with save as you spend, and all this is information that is coming, and we are from learning from what you're already practicing and what you're doing, but also getting information from your previous behaviors, like I said, with the Credit Reference Bureau.
Thank you for that background information and more that you're doing in the digital and AI space. Over to you, Odas. Let's begin on a personal note. Could you describe your journey into digital innovation space and what inspired your focus on technology-driven solutions? And also through that, tell us more on Digital Umuganda, why that space was created and the problem it came to solve.
Thank you. I think with digital technologies, there's an understanding that is sector agnostic. So it can be used in manufacturing, it can be used in agriculture, it can be used in health. And the abilities or the potential abilities of digital technologies, being able to increase efficiency, being able to enhance service delivery, being able to enhance information access, has proved that it actually delivers leapfrogging, like my colleague Ben just said. So it was a no-brainer. I think it was a no-brainer. I think the other part was that if you look at the last industrial revolution, and I think Ben touched on this as well, is where Africa was left as a mere consumer, having the raw materials but not being able to do that value addition. And we're seeing it repeat with the fourth industrial revolution in which we are in, where there's a lot of data being created on the ground, but then when it comes to building the applications, building the digital solutions that are being consumed on a day-to-day basis, we still have to import them. So I think it's through that basis that even Digital Umuganda was born. So back in 2018, 2019, we started seeing that artificial intelligence, especially language technology that goes with artificial intelligence, was going to be very important. But then if you looked at all the technologies that were coming out, you would notice that the majority of these technologies are in foreign languages, which are not spoken by the people on the ground. If you take Rwanda, for example, 75% of the population only speaks Kinyarwanda. So if you build these technologies in languages people don't speak, then you're creating this AI divide gap that's going to actually build a barrier between those who can access these technologies and make use of them, and those who cannot because they were not built with them in mind. So Through that, we said we need to create one data set. So these data sets are what powers these AI engines, so that linguistically, contextually, they're able to be built in, let's say, for example, in Kinyarwanda, but also other African languages. And that was the basis of the work that we started doing around 7-8 years ago, starting with Kinyarwanda, but also expanding to about 17 more African languages now. And with that same basis, how to ensure that people on the continent, over 2,000 languages spoken, are able to access these digital technologies. But how do we also empower those building these digital technologies to have the necessary infrastructure to build them? So that's why, if you see a lot of the work that we do, it's in the open source, so that innovators, startups, researchers can take these data sets and build these technologies in the languages people speak. So I would say that's the basis of how I got into technology, but also the basis of the work that Digital Umuganda has been doing has been on that, is how do we become producers of digital solutions that are consumed on the continent, and how do we ensure as well that the builders, which are the innovators and researchers, have the necessary data set, the necessary infrastructure to build as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. It's very interesting to see the evolution of it all from the beginning, and seeing the different ways in which you integrated the languages, various languages, and also trying to solve the need or the problem that was there in society, which is what we're all trying to do. And over to you, Mr. Mohammed. You operate at the intersection of digital health and artificial intelligence. And if I may ask, what drew you to this field, and why is digital health literacy so important in today's world?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. As our brothers, they touched the area of digital innovation nowadays. And in our side, actually, the field of health. As you said, using technology or those innovation activities that nowadays we have many fields that we can go with, like health, agriculture, and so on. But we focused on health because we know the importance that it has. And seeing that, we know and we do understand that we have some medical doctors that they are helping us to shape the world. But as we have something, we must take opportunity from it and then shape the world using that technology that we have. And the importance of digital literacy, as you said, imagine we are living in a world whereby the decisions are data-driven, so that we will not do mistake. Using various systems to collect the data, and from the data, our medical doctors, they can take a rightful decision and at a good time, so that we will not be late from it. And from that, also, we do have some challenges that they occurs. What? The problem of having many systems in every country. Even here in Rwanda, you can take an example of Uzima. We have EMR, electronic medical record, and so on. So how the system can talk to each other to cooperate. And from that also, there is some solutions that are there. So why not using it and then informing people that to integrate it? For example, using FHIR standard interoperability, so that different systems can talk to each other and then send the same data, not only within the same country, but internationally recognized. For example, someone from Kenya that is having some issues, he has been treating there or following some doctors, but is not yet well covered, and then they refer him here to Rwanda. Are we going to do also the same kind of the test? No, because he has already that interoperability resources that they created his data. We are going to access it here directly and continue from what it left. And nowadays, using that resources, it can help us to achieve much more. And in the side of AI, to give a good point, let me ask like a question whereby, what if we have some solutions, but we don't want to integrate it? We are going to be back. So what if we take the opportunity from it and then reshape the world as we want to innovate it in a good solution? As I said, imagine that there is some disease some outbreak that are coming out, and then there is no specific system, or there is no people that are educated enough in the side of digital health to navigate through it and understand the trend that it has. And with AI, the capability of machine learning, we can even predict what if it happened here in Ruamagana and another city. Is it going to impact also Kigali? Are we going to put them in lockdown? What are we going to take as solution? That's how it used to help us in the side of digital health. And using this innovation, it can help us to achieve much more. We have some systems that we build, and some of them we are still building that can help much those medical practitioners to achieve more on what they have. Because as human beings, if you are not in a good health, we can do nothing. Even though there is another sector, but this sector is very important. And as we can have a good data-driven solution, I guess it's very well to use it in a rightful way and do it.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, basically using it to our advantage, which is very interesting to hear from a point of view of digital health and all the progress that we have experienced thus far from integrating AI into it. Back to you, Benjamin. You have worked extensively with AI-enabled platforms, robotics, fintech solutions, so on and so forth. How is AI currently transforming the financial and technology workforce in Africa?
I think there are layers of stages. Even if I could pick from what my colleague just mentioned on the systems that speak to each other, and also being able to, we can pick an example of the COVID-19, where the whole world was reacting towards the different responses that countries were putting together. But that there have been epidemics before, and I think Africa mainly, and the entire world generally, had not developed systems that could predict beyond just outbreaks and epidemics and pandemics and all that. But with an example of COVID-19, I think it's time and even with the emerging technologies and AI, it's time for countries and regions to be able to build systems that would be helpful so that we are predictive rather than reactive on when these things occurs. Before the question you asked, when we deployed the COVID-19 robots in health centers, especially with COVID treatment centers, and by then I was working with Odas on that particular project across in Rwanda and other few African countries. It was a response, a reactive response that turned out to be a great response, and we were able to contribute our quota towards helping healthcare workers not to be so much exposed. And then we're really doing very basic vitals testing, but we're very paramount during that time. If we had designed these robots and the system way before COVID appeared, maybe we could have done much better. And today, the same robots we used, we are trying to repurpose them, carrying out a research with the National Council of Science and Technology to see how now we can start predicting these things. So there is much, I wanted to build on what he said, but in the financial technology part, there is much, and also AI has a lot of layers, like I said before. What we are now dealing with, and what I would appeal to everyone to do, is at least to be able to use AI applications. But then for, and that is in Rwanda or across Africa and elsewhere, but for if you go a little bit deeper, then you'll be looking at government delegating the whole policies around AI, so that, and also the same way they create regional blocks for economic integration, to also create regional blocks for data. Like what he said, if there is no data interoperability, then the Rwanda data would be very small, and that way someone in Nairobi who want to be transferred to Rwanda or Rwanda to Kampala will be very difficult, because data is really enclosed in one country by policy. So, but also the other layers of investment that could be on building AI models, and then going a little bit deeper into also building crowd facilities for AI and so forth to chips and all that. But at least as of now, if we can be comfortable and learn how to utilize the applications, because if you see, if you put a good prompt into the AI model, it will give you a response. Yeah, and that is what I would say. Thank you.
What about the fear that a lot of people have, especially the fact that it is so useful, but people are worried it is going to replace them, and this fear is we're not foreign to it, because we've been hearing it around, and in as much as it is doing so much in terms of contributing to progression in various fields, people are still scared, thus limiting the number of people that really utilize these AI tools to the maximum potential. What could you say about that?
I would, I'll make a comment, but I would like to also, not to sound controversial. Everything has pros and cons. True. In one way or the other. And if you see if you read a little bit history, what was happening in the first and the second industrial revolutions, there were fears. And people could really start drilling oil in back then, so that they can power their trucks in the First World War and so forth. And then because of such a need they had, and of course there were disadvantages with the First World War, the First Industrial Revolution and the Second Industrial Revolution, and that also comes to. That's where I had to put a disclaimer, not to sound controversial. That's where also you'd find civilization is so advanced in these countries that had to endure the consequences of these industrial revolutions. And in Africa, because we are also lucky with abundance, so that's why the fear comes first, because either way, with or without it, we can still survive. Sure. And I remember one economist who was, I think, seated on the same panel here said, when COVID was happening, said, even if Africa closed its airport, people still survive and people still have food. He made that statement during COVID-19. And today, someone would say, with or without AI, Africa will still survive. But then that is not civilization, and that's not what I want to do. My appeal, again, is usually, especially for younger generation, they are very okay. Today in my team, I have young people, and you'd ask them to work on a report, to work on a design, and they will produce it within a minute. And they'll ask, and also sometimes I could have challenges with answering some questions, and I had probably to invite a few smart friends, and then but today with AI, I will go to meet my friends whom I think are smart when I actually have an idea of what is happening. So, which is important, actually, mentioned it, something to do with upskilling, especially for the working force of elder professionals, and also and for the younger ones in schools to learn AI. Really, it's very important.
Thank you for that. Back to you, Mr. Nyanguru. Through your experience and as the CEO of Digital Umuganda, how are you seeing the artificial intelligence influence digital innovation and workforce productivity here in Rwanda or even across the continent?
So I would see it in two phases or two separate ways. The first one is in enhancing. Think about a doctor-to-patient ratio. You have very few doctors dealing with a lot of patients in the healthcare industry. And this is where I see the biggest opportunity for Africa and for Rwanda in particular, which is how can we enhance productivity and how can we enhance service delivery in areas where we have a small workforce that's dealing with a lot of workload. So that is in education, that's in health, that's in ensuring that the farmers are productive. I think there was a number of 60% of the Rwandan workforce is in agriculture, but only contributing 25% to the GDP. So how do we ensure that that productivity goes up? And that's where I see the biggest opportunity. But there's also another layer, which is transformation. And this I would give an example. Think about students who are studying translation at university this year, who are going to graduate maybe this year or next year. The field in which they started the year one 4 years ago and which they're going to graduate in this year is very, very different. If you go on Google Translate or you use these large language models like ChatGPT, the ability to translate Kinyarwanda to English or Kinyarwanda to Swahili or other languages has been dramatically increased over the years and is still going to increase as time goes by. So their fields won't be the same as when they join university. That's why the upskilling and reskilling is very necessary because unless there's this understanding between the conventional knowledge acquisition at schools and universities, marrying with the current workforce or the workforce that the students are going to graduate in, then there will be that part of being left behind. So that's why we need to rethink how we approach education, especially in the age of AI. How do we use it to our advantage? But also how do we reskill people in the sectors that are going to be dramatically transformed by the arrival of artificial intelligence and it getting better. But as I said before, there's also that part where I see a lot of opportunities, for example, in healthcare, for example, in education, where you still have a workforce that's very small compared to the workload that's there. So yeah, there are those two contrasts. But again, it centers around upskilling and reskilling. So I think that's now the homework that's there for policymakers, but also businesses and the workforce in general, to see how to take advantage and not be left behind.
And in that aspect of reskilling, are citizens open to the idea of integrating it? We spoke of the fear, but if we put the fear aside, how is the percentage of the people or the progression in terms of people wanting to relearn some of these things, but in an AI-driven economy, and how we can be able to utilize it to the utmost, like you said?
So I would see it in probably two layers. I think the first is that AI, because of personalization, it makes learning very easy because it's interactive. People are open to the idea of learning, but there's also always some friction if something has been done the same way for a lot of time and there's a new technology, and especially when it comes now to the context of Africa, it's still learning, so there's still the accuracy might be low. So there might be that friction of, I don't think it's here to replace me, I don't think it's good enough, but it's very important now to see how do we use it to learn. not only that, but there's also need for AI literacy for everyone, I think, because unless the bigger majority of the population knows how to benefit from it, then there's going to be the divide that I talked about starting. So yeah, I think it's good to learn with it because it's personalized, it's interactive, but also I foresee some friction because it will change the way some things are done eventually.
Thank you for that. Back to you, Mohammed. You are leading various initiatives in digital health literacy as well as artificial intelligence. And this gentleman, Mr. Nyong'o, spoke of the patient-doctor ratio and different ways in which AI is helping, especially in the health sector. But if you could also contribute towards this, how is AI transforming the healthcare workforce in Rwanda or even across the continent?
Okay, well, thank you so much for the question. As you said, he enumerates some of the questions. As you see, for example, we have a need of a given number of doctors to a given number of patients. Let me take one example. Here in Rwanda, about the rheumatologist, we have only one. His name is, sorry, I forgot it. He's working at King Faisal Hospital. So imagine that the need of rheumatologists is increasing in the country and we have only one specialist. How are we going to deal with that? And having the solution with telemedicine across the continent, maybe there, our neighbors country like Congo or Burundi, they do have some specialists so that we can use the system and then plan a time with them and they are going to consult you online. You see how is it helping well? And one of the projects that we have been working on it also about rheumatology, whereby that rheumatologist is going to help also other doctors to collect some data and giving some insight about them. So when you're a general doctor and then you face a given challenges that a patient is having, that one, you collect the data and the system is going to analyze and giving you some of the solutions suggested before by doctor. You see how is it even beginning? And this one is happening nowadays. And from that, as you said also, as they talk about some fears or challenges, we do have also some challenges that many patients that they used to ask about it. The big question is data governance. How my medical data is private. We had that initiative. We already had we trained some people about HDG, Health Data Governance, whereby you know your right, how your data, your medical data is accessed, and how is it going to be even dealt with. For example, if you want it, are they going to give you? Let's say that yesterday you went to Seajuka, and after 1 year, you want them to give you back your data. Is it possible or not? How did they keep it? That's how using artificial intelligence nowadays can help us to improve more in the field of health. Many people nowadays, when talking about artificial intelligence, usually they used to talk about those GPTs, as my brother said, like those chatbot about prompting and giving some answers. But we do have incorporate those AI with robotics. Doing some surgery using television. A doctor can be in France, and you as a patient, you will be here in a well-equipped room, is going to do the operation 100% well with the help of the AI. Is it not that good?
Yes.
Of course, it's very nice, and it's helping even the productivity of the country and even the continent. So it's very positive. And now, the issue that we have is our medical doctors nowadays, they don't use to be involved in those technologies. That's the biggest challenge that we have. As they talk about upskilling and reskilling, we need them to understand well how the technology is working. As the example that he gave about report, if I give you a report, you are producing you are writing that report by yourself, and the other person that is using those chatbot, believe me, is not going to be the same. the way that he will generate to me, it will be more convincing. So I'm not going to say that you are not good enough, you are good, but the other person that is having a skill plus the artificial intelligence that he has, he's gaining more points over you. Of course, the artificial intelligence alone can do nothing, but we people do. So the future of Africa is in our hand.
True.
As my brother here said, whether we are going to use AI, to know it or not, the Africa will be and it still will improve. But if we are involved in artificial intelligence, we are going to change it to manipulate it in a way that we want, so that our future will be sustainable.
Thank you very much for that. Back to you, Benjamin. With the rise of AI chat agents, now there are various options, automation as well as robotics. What new jobs are emerging rather than disappearing within the tech and fintech ecosystem?
I would say there are different jobs that are already emerging. One is also the AI trainers that you see they're emerging, and also is that even before, you know, if we take an example of software developers, even an initial design of the architecture design of the system and the system flow could require someone with software development skills to be able to do that. But today, with the help of AI, basic programming could be done by anybody. And then maybe you wait on, because, and also probably in the near future. So with it means today someone who considered himself more of a product officer, a product manager, can actually do the initial designing of a system. And then once it gets into complex programming, then he can hand over to a software developer to continue the work. So today it's in our businesses and companies, we are seeing some people really who have managed to upskill or reskill themselves, being able to do some tasks that before could be very expensive, that could require you to hire a software developer just to do the software system design. And the other item is that also with AI, some of the challenges that our community face today, people are coming up with which the same question that Mohammed spoke about. You see there is a trend of systems and softwares and businesses that are emerging, because now everybody can look at a problem and want to solve it because there is a help of AI. So there have been more businesses created because of AI, and that means there have been more jobs created because of AI. Maybe the question would remain that how do we get to know all these solutions or platforms that are being built, which in one way could be seen as circulated systems and solutions? How could they speak to each other so that we are really getting something that is working?
Thank you for that information and also outlining that. Back to you, Odas. From your perspective, are Rwandan or even African institutions and companies moving fast enough to integrate AI solutions or AI in general into operations or even the workforce systems?
I think as a continent, we're still lagging behind. And not only as Africa, if you look even globally, there are a few countries that dominate. So if you look at the US and China, they probably dominate the top 5 to top 10 AI technologies on the market right now. I think at this moment, even Europe is trying to catch up. Integrating is one thing, but also building and deploying is also another. When it comes to integrations, we've seen a lot of people starting to use large language models for, proposal development or document drafting, or also doing basic research as well, desk research. So there's a lot of, I would say, at individual level, some way people are integrating it into their workflow. But I also look at it at a different layer, which is, are we deploying AI technologies? Are we developing them on the continent? Or are we going to be just mere consumers of technologies built elsewhere? As I said, if you look globally, only a few countries are developing and deploying at scale. So it's also a big question on how do we do that, and how do we do that at scale? There has been some initiatives, especially in the healthcare industry, which is how do we enhance, for example, community health workers to be able to leverage large language models to be able to enhance referral decisions or any other decisions. How can they help in helping with follow-up with people with non-communicable diseases? Such use cases that can actually be built on the ground, that can be scaled on the ground. I think recently we saw the Horizon 1000 project that was announced together with the Ministry of Health and the Gates Foundation. So such initiatives are there, and they're starting to pick up. I think we also saw the agreement between Anthropic and the government of Rwanda in education and health. So there are these efforts that are being built currently. But I think the key question is, how do we ensure that we have that AI sovereignty? Meaning that these technologies, we build them, we know how the data that we provide to them is governed, we have access to it, and that we can continuously have access to them irrespective of what happens. So, yeah, to answer your question briefly, I think there's starting to be momentum at the national level, but it's also quite important to ensure that this momentum is accompanied by the local development and deployment by local innovators and researchers.
Yes, you just spoke about what I was going to say. There is having that AI sovereignty, but also building on the momentum. We have seen initiatives of us being developers and drivers of this, but one would ask, are we on track? We might have started some of these few things, but are other companies going to be able to want to build on that? And that is currently the conversation. Yeah, thank you for that. And back to you, Mohammed. In the health sector, when we talk about technology adoption, but are health professionals adequately prepared? And you did speak on that to work alongside AI-driven systems. How do we make sure that this health professionals can be put in spaces where they can learn and feel free to be able to adopt this, because we know that it's contributing to the development and it's going to solve so many problems, but are they willing to learn and are they willing to integrate it?
Okay, well, that's a good question. Okay, from RIHA Initiative, we have that policy that we have been talking about it, and among our vision is by 2030, we are going to teach at least 10,000 people on digital health, whereby we have started already teaching many people about how to use it and how to incorporate technology in their daily life. As we can see here in Rwanda, there are some people that they are willing and they know already how to use those technology in their daily life, providing a good solution, a good outcome. Even though we have them, we have a very big number of people that they are still not accurate and adequate on using those technology, especially when you go from community workers till going the level up, till reference hospital. So some people, some doctors in a very low community level, when you give them some devices, some digital technologies to use it, they will see like in a given day, you will be replacing them by someone that is going to use that device well than them. So we still have that some challenges to to advise them, to give them some information. But the only solution that we can do now is to train them, to sensitize them all the time. And also, as we know, every education used to start from academia. So that's the big part. We must incorporate digital literacy alongside with artificial intelligence in our curricula as a module. Because why just incorporating it? We don't need to change what it has been there, but just adding. When you said you want to change, many people, as they have talked about industrial revolution and others, will have many challenges. But we are not going to change it, but we are going to add on it. As soon as they understand and they know the importance of it, they will adapt themselves on how to use it easily. That's how the world is moving forward. And especially we Africans, we need some very good and local product that it can be to our local use. As we have been talking about some languages, so the device that we'll be using also, we are not going to put it in English or in French. Imagine we have at a community level some people that don't speak English or French, and then giving them some device that they are in English or French or any other language. So if you adapt it to a local one, it will improve. That's how we will go with them. Small by small, we are going to grow, like a baby becoming a person.
Thank you for outlining that. Back to you, Benjamin. From a leadership standpoint, how important is reskilling and upskilling? We did speak on that. Mr. Oda spoke on that as well. But we would like to hear your perspective for professionals who are already in the workforce today, because there's one thing to be to have access to these tools, but it's another to be able to want to utilize them and use them to our advantage. So in your opinion as a leader, how important is it?
Like I tried to explain earlier, there are things that we as Africans, and like Oda said, we have countries that are dominating this AI industry, which is mainly China and the US. I'll use an example so that even the professionals today see the urgency to really take short courses because they are there, and even have a continuous learning approach of AI. Some time back, you could just even walk in the neighborhood and see roads being constructed by a German company or being constructed by a Chinese company, and it's 100%. You see every person doing each and every job is. When you look at these industries, especially in the construction, you could see there have been progress. You see with the introduction of TVETs, schools, now you can see that we have quite a large number of a workforce that can really undertake these construction projects, some of which are high. But we underwent a process where these jobs could be done by other people. It become much more easier to find that an elevator has to be fixed by an Indian or a Chinese. And even in companies, you could find in one way or the other that, oh, if it's a large financial role, if it's a large engineering role, we need to get an Indian to come and fit into that position. So if today we don't upskill, we don't do continuous learning of AI, we won't be doing justice to ourselves. So as in my position, I would appeal that every professional, and regardless of really what background you're from, whether you are a lawyer, whether you are an economist or you are an engineer, irrespective of the sector, it's important to learn these AI applications and models so that you know how to use them. And when Odas was speaking and when you're making follow-up questions, one thing was even coming to my mind is that we are, as he said, seeing two countries dominating this AI industry. What was coming to my mind was that, wait, maybe we are even still on the top layer. Some time back, I was watching an interview with NVIDIA CEO, Jensen, and he mentioned the layers or categories of AI. And he said, there is what we know, which is the AI applications. And then beneath there is, and maybe any of you can make a comment, and then he said beneath there is AI models, which is Grok or Gemini. And then he said there is cloud computing, and there is also chips, AI chips, and then there is energy. But what we are talking about right now is on the AI model. That means the two top layers. The three ones, we are not talking about it, which means the countries that are investing in the three lower layers that builds up to AI are the ones that are controlling the AI economy, global economy. And then we are at the same time at risk to remain consumers. And that's why earlier I was saying for governments to be able to deregulate, to be able to create regional blocks for AI, because with these AI centers, there's massive investment that a continent like Africa with almost over 50 countries, an individual country may not be able to invest into this and would require that so that there is cooperation into this. And that way we can now go a little bit into the layers of AI, but I'll stop from there.
Yes, thank you very much. So we've run out of time, but if each of you very briefly could just in a key message say, or for the viewers listening, what must African professionals do today to remain relevant and competitive in an AI-driven workforce? We'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it's basically the majority of the things we talk about. There's the upskilling and reskilling, and most of the time when we think about skills, we think the technical skills of developing these technologies, but there's also a whole ecosystem around it, which is policymakers who need to make the policies that relate to this, which is the judicial that needs to enforce the laws and regulation around artificial intelligence that are being put in place. And then there's the general mass, which is the citizens and users who need to understand how do we use artificial intelligence technologies to our benefits, how do we understand the risks, and how do we ensure that we're using it correctly. So I would say for each particular sector that you belong to, there's definitely going to be an impact of artificial intelligence, and I think you need to be aware of that and reskill or upskill to ensure that you're relevant on the job market tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Briefly.
Okay. First of all, as for me, to go globally to the continent, first of all, you must focus on a country. And in a country, as for me, first of all, is the political will. As soon as you have political will, whereby we need to adapt those digital literacy, artificial intelligence, or talking about all cutting-edge technology like blockchain and so on, they must be incorporating in it. And from that, upskilling and reskilling with those people that are going to use the tool, it will be helping them more to shape the world. So the future of Africa is in our hand. When we use AI, we are going to transform it in a very positive way.
Thank you. Benjamin?
My say would be that there are sectors that we can leapfrog, and one is the healthcare, second is agriculture, and third is the service sector. Those sectors we can really leapfrog, and we'll be able to move forward and definitely going with the working force being able to have continuous learning courage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And fortunately or unfortunately, we've come to the end of this conversation, but this gives us an assignment to keep having such discussions, finding different ways in which we can be able to increase the amount in which we contribute to our development through AI. So once again, I'd like to thank my panelists. Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you, Odas, and thank you, Mohammed, for joining the conversation. Very timely, and as artificial intelligence continues to shape how we work, innovate, and deliver services, one thing is clear, is that the future of work is in Africa, and it will be defined not only by technology, but how prepared we are, especially in the workforce, and how we continue to reintegrate it. So I was your host, Martina Avera. Thank you for joining into the conversation. We'll see you on the next episode.